Oh, we're live. Hey, y'all, what's up? Getting ready to do this show. Well, I'm actually doing the show right now because I've already pressed the R and record, and I'm talking into a microphone, and there's a camera looking at me, right? But anyways, I really don't feel like doing the show today. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I really want to just sit here in my house and sit in my feelings and sulk. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not going to tell you why, because it's none of your business. It's my personal life. I'm going to keep it personal. But in that, just to let you know, I really didn't feel like doing the show today. And not because I didn't want to talk about what I want to talk about. It's just like, just want to sulk. But what does sulking do? It does absolutely nothing. You know, I know a lot of y'all are tough. You don't have feelings. You know, strong black man. I got it. Man, nigga, I cry. I'm a crybaby. I'm not ashamed to cry. You know what I mean? I cried the other day. Well, I didn't cry, but you know, I teared up. No, I'm not gonna cry on the pod today. I can't imagine that I'd ever cry on a podcast, but you never know. But anyways, we're here and we're gonna do the show. Why? Because I went to work today. Shit. Why would I not do what I love just because I'm not feeling great? It's insane. And as human beings, you know, we talk about mental health all the time and protecting your peace, protecting your peace. Man, manage your peace, manage yourself, take control of what you can control and work from there. And what you can't always control is your thoughts and your perspective. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. You can control how you prepare yourself. So I think it's an important message to just put out here. Yo, man, take care of yourself, but don't allow what's going on internally to stop you from doing what you need to do or stop you from doing what you want to do. Don't let what's going on internally stop you from anything. Actually take that and allow it to propel you to the places you want to go. I'm not going to tell you how to do it because I'm not a certified, licensed, clinical, well-studied human being who can give professional advice here in this country. I mean, I could privately, like that. What's her name? That Cheyenne Bryant, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. You know, she does private. You know, she does, and you know, because of her style, the way she prefers to do things. You know. But anyways, we'll get to that a little bit later. But you know, I told y'all a long time ago, I'm a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. Who cares? I hate the media, and it's mainly it started with the mainstream media. And then now I'm seeing where it's trickling down to the non-traditional forms of media. And, you know, I guess I could fall into that category, but I don't think so. And I was talking about this in a group text earlier today. And one of the guys, Josh Holsey, was like, "Isn't that what you do?" No. I actually try to generate my own topics again now that I'm doing a solo show. I try to generate my topics myself based off of my personal life experiences, based off of conversations I've had, based off something I've read, listened to, heard. You know, I try to build the topics that way and not necessarily tether it to the algorithm. Is it more profitable to tether it to the algorithm? Absolutely. But that's not what I want to do. I want to teach. I look at this, you know, this is a reflection of my life. And any type of production that I produce, I want it to be a reflection of real life. Now, I can't speak to any and everybody that I have on the platform because you tell them the expectations, you center the show around that, but at the end of the day, they're in control of what they say and what they do. But The purpose of this platform is not to just analyze what's happened and react. Some of it is to be proactive, or take what's going on and pull bigger themes out of it. Like I think about Meg and Clay, right? I could care less about Meg and Clay. He's not my friend, she's not my friend, they're not my loved ones. I don't know them, I've never met them. The closest thing I've got to Meg was seeing her on stage and those knees. Yeah, nah, she's a great performer on stage. Okay. But the whole idea of people being on the internet reacting to this, her posting it, and all of this fake stuff going around, the real stuff, whatever the case may be, yo, it's just an attack on your attention, to put money in their pockets, take money out of your pocket, so on and so forth. So why give it life? I'm not gonna hold you. Almost anytime I see some of that nonsense on my timeline, man, I don't follow the page. I started to clean up my algorithm because, man, this stuff is, you see it so much, you start to deem it to be important. And the industry is built off of you seeing more and more of what they do. It's not enough to gather, to capture an audience, educate the audience, market, promote your stuff, put it out there for the people who want to receive it. No, we're going to force this down your throat. And honestly, what we're going to do is we're going to relitigate conversations over and over and over again based on whatever narrative we want to push or whatever fattens our pockets. And that's what the people consume, and it expands their lives to places that they're not prepared to go to. You start worrying about what's going on 3 countries over, across the water, and it may affect you or it may not, but it takes your focus away from the things that are actually in your day to day. I think about a lot of the relationship conversations that you see. How much do the men have to make? Bro, don't none of y'all make that much money. Y'all aren't in those arenas. That's not your life. You are consuming real life media that's supposed to be a reflection of real life, but it's not a reflection of your real life. It's not in line with what the life you live. So you create these expectations, and you start to try to live in a world that you're not adjacent to, or you try to chase the things of that world. I'm guilty of it. You end up in stupid debt for no reason. So, like, don't let this media stuff and this broadcasting distract you, because it complicates everything. I was listening to a sports podcast the other day. I was like, hey, let me hear what Russillo has to say. I liked him, and I haven't listened to him in a while, but maybe he's got some good stuff going on. And then he starts breaking down basketball, and he starts using these non-traditional stats and this and that. And I'm like, bro, you think about it. The sports podcast is like the sports talk show, the sports radio show. It's like the column, or maybe even just a sports article, depending on the level of analysis that the podcaster or broadcaster is using versus opinion. But think about it. Think about the newspaper, think about the radio, especially a national radio show, right? They're talking to you about things that you did not see, could not see. So they're painting a picture for you to be aware. It's now shifted from, they don't tell you they're not telling you things that you missed. They're telling you what you saw. And there's nothing wrong with gathering other people's perspectives and doing that and trusting their quote unquote expert opinion. But I'm going to be honest with you. If you watch basketball your whole life, you've played the game to some level, you've been around players, you've been around coaches, you've been around the game. There are certain principles that just remain constant. And when I watch the sport, if I know what's going on, I know what I saw. You can't tell me what I saw. You can't tell me a player is better than another player. Based on what? What criteria are we using? We talk about best player in the league, MVP. We talk about all of this stuff, but we don't create parameters. So it complicates things, you know? We're talking past each other more than we're talking to each other because we're coming to different conclusions, but we're using different data. No shit. Some would say some media platforms do it by design. Why? Because it boosts engagement. The more engagement they get, that means the more eyes they've captured, the more people who will interact with them. So guess what? They're going to give you more of that stuff and they get more money. Don't get me wrong. I want engagement. I want interaction, but I want the interaction and engagement to be pure based upon somebody's response to something that was said. I'm not going to just say something to get a certain response. Now, in a real conversation, you might say something to get a response, to set something up and make another point. But for it to not be a back and forth, and I mean, the way I used to listen to certain podcasts, the way I know other people do, and the way that sports opinions are reflected in real life versus the way they used to be, the way they're reflected on shows, everything is damn near consensus. And it's like, what? Some things are, yeah, no shit. But other things are like, man, I'm not seeing what you're seeing. And it's okay. Fill me in. Show me what you see that I don't see. Break down your analysis. Get into the nuances. Explain these non-traditional stats and why you value them over traditional stats, or why you value statistics over the eye test, or how much you value the eye test, or why you value the eye test more. All of these things are important. But that's not what we do. We make things yeses and nos and rights and wrongs. And it's not. It's somewhere in between. Another way the media complicates things is, let's see, I like to find stuff to sound unique, confuse you too. Bro, I don't know what this means. The average person doesn't know what this means. You are supposed to be the expert who takes this dense information, breaks it out, and then delivers it to me in a compact way so that I can understand it. It's supposed to fill in the gaps for me. It's like a author. If you're writing a book, let's just say a historical book, you're covering history, you're conducting interviews, you're doing research. The point of your book is to take all of these information from these sources to inform your reader. And yes, you want your reader to engage, but like, dog, if the reader doesn't understand the book, they're not going to read it. Or it turns into people using buzzwords and catchphrases and quoting stuff exactly to the T. And it's like, bruh, no, that's not real. Nobody actually speaks that way. Intelligent people shouldn't speak that way unless they're speaking to other intelligent people on their level who have the same similar knowledge base that they have. Got to break things down. Just don't give me a quote. Just don't give me a scripture. Okay, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? What do you take away from it? Or are you just repeating what somebody else told you? And the last thing, maybe the last thing, is there's more of a focus on respect and access and allegiances than information. You know, especially when you're talking about journalists or people presenting themselves from a journalistic point of view, or people presenting themselves from a historical point of view, providing analysis on modern things that people like need or want to know. I'm not even gonna say need to know, because a lot of these industries are just made up. Like, who gives a damn about what's going on with Love Island? That shouldn't be you shouldn't be able to start a podcast. I say you shouldn't be able to start a podcast off of it. Like, economically, yes. From a business standpoint, absolutely, go for it. But from the point of view of why are we talking about entertainment? Why are we analyzing entertainment like it's real life? We don't need analysis for entertainment. Again, just a distraction, complicating things, feeding information into your head that you think you need, but it provides very little value for you. unless you're going to start a reality show. I mean, we got to be smarter with where we put our time and attention. I promise you. But yeah, you know, like, look, Ryan Russillo had talked about Diana Rossini. Dan Le Batard didn't want to talk about Diana Rossini. Oh, that's my friend. Okay, so what? Analyze your friend. You were in the business of providing analysis on these things. You would talk about it if it wasn't your friend. What's the difference? You can talk about your friend respectfully. I mean, at least Le Batard told us he's biased. And a lot of these comparisons come from sports media because I've spent more time ingesting sports media because I used to want to be in sports media, but I don't watch a lot of other political. I don't watch the news. I can't watch that stuff. You know, you think about the hell. You can't trust them. Think about what just happened this weekend and all the stuff that's come out about that. But we'll get to that a little bit later. The last thing I don't like is, bro, it's more money and clout for entertaining. Just look at our networking, man. Look at what's on ESPN. Look what's on Fox News. Look at what's on CNN. Look at what's popular podcasts, Joe Rogan, Bill Simmons. It's a lot of opinions. Hell, I'm on here giving opinions. But I like to say that my opinions are backed in education. And if you question those, you question his philosophies, you know, look it up. Leave a comment. We can talk about it. I can tell you where I derive a lot of my information from, and we can go back and forth because I think it's important for people to have conversations and not just be yelled at and talked at like Stephen A. Smith. I could get on here and just yell, and you need to read. The American education system is flawed. But man, I want to be talked to like that. Most people don't. I don't. So I'm not going to do it either. And you know, I was listening to this podcast the other day, right? Joe Budden and the gang, and I listened to them. I think they're funny. They had Dr. Cheyenne Bryant on. And I had to listen to this thing in waves because it's 3 hours of nonsense. Not nonsense. 3 hours with a lot of nonsense and a lack of accountability. But for starters, we've got to get these dumb niggas off microphones. Here's what I think is unsafe and unhealthy. Is having an expert, quote unquote, come onto a platform, provide expertise, but not having adequate interviewers to check things. And oftentimes I see it in Black media, because it's the media that I consume the most, is that we'll have these entertainment shows and they'll bring these quote unquote educational figures on, and they just they're not read enough or educated enough on the topics to properly poke holes in the argument. And the purpose of poking the holes, it's not about making the person wrong or making them uncomfortable, but challenging their views in a way that they are forced to defend their views based on the information that they've consumed. But when you don't have that, they can talk over you, talk around you, use big words, quote things that you can't reference and properly contextualize. And you say, oh, that sounds smart. One thing I've learned as a communicator, if the people don't understand what you're communicating, it's poor communication. I can think of countless stories and countless individuals in my life where we talked past each other. Why? Couldn't agree on facts. I'm not pointing fingers. It's just honesty. And you can't have an actual back and forth and provide true defenses for the information, the learning is limited. And we don't want to limit learning. But I really have an issue with internet intellectuals. And listening to that conversation kind of took me there. And I put them in two baskets, right? You have these classically formally trained PhDs, degree having people who provide expertise based on their perspective, their research, so on and so forth. But they're in the entertainment world. And I think there needs to be more education in entertainment. And I think there should honestly just be less entertainment, more education and broadcasting and networking. But I don't trust these internet intellectuals. And I call them internet intellectuals because, yes, they have business. Yes, some of them may be professors. They may be doing good research, writing books, all of this stuff, but they live on the internet. They're on the internet pushing these general views. They're on the internet not providing context. And I think it's so important to provide context. They operate in generality so much. And people will take this information and say, oh, they got a PhD. Well, so what? A lot of people have PhDs. I know people with PhDs, masters, JDs. I don't necessarily think all of them are smart. I think they work hard. I think they're smart enough. But that doesn't mean I'm going to follow what they say because I know how some of them live. You know, we don't know how these people live, and we just, not me, but a lot of us just take their words for granted because they're a PhD. But if they're a true PhD, why aren't you pushing learning? Or you're a true intellectual, why aren't you pushing learning? Not learn what you know, think the way you think, come to your conclusions. No, learning. Maybe that challenge helps you learn. It's a crazy thing out here. You know, we live in a world where we don't want our information challenged. We don't want anything challenged. We want to be supported by people. We want to be loved on all the time. But here's the thing, man. You can't get education without challenge. If you take everything for granted or believe what you know to be the truth is the only truth and nothing but the truth, then you're missing the point. And if somebody is a quote unquote intellectual and they're not pushing you to find things for yourself and come to your own conclusions, then don't trust them because they're a snake oil salesman. They push these internet lies and live different real lives. And the person sitting on the computer or on their phone with the headphones in listening to this, they don't know that. They don't look at it as, hey, this works for the algorithm. I'm pushing this to make more money to drive up engagement. Maybe I am a true intellectual, but I've sold out my intellect for money. And once you start to see intellectuals selling out for money, I'm not saying you can't be intellectual and get to the bag. No, there are smart things that deserve to make money. But when we start getting to that world of thinking and philosophy and psychology and sociology and a lot of, the people stuff, man, it takes it's not a one-way thing. And if money is what's driving you and pushing that, and that's your primary source of income, I don't trust it. I shouldn't tell you not to trust it. I say I don't trust it. Because what's your end state? What's funding you? Who's funding you? And what do they want us to know? Now, another set of internet intellectuals I don't like are just the people who done started watching YouTube docs, reading, but they don't open their minds up. Again, they probably follow some of these same internet intellectuals, the formally trained internet intellectuals, and regurgitate a lot of what they say, or they find these dark, cryptic, alternative history people and just eat up what they're saying. Hey, they got to make money too. And now I'm somebody who gets into alternative history. I really like alternative history. Studying alternative history has changed my mind on a lot of things, but it's only changed my mind because I had a mind that was built off of traditional history. And for all the years that I've studied and learned traditional history and believed it to be true, traditional Western history, excuse me, I've now kind of changed course. And now I'm looking at history from different perspectives because I'm trying to learn the different perspectives, right? I'm trying to research the intentions behind the perspective that's broadcast. Because then when you understand that, you also understand what to do with the truth. I've spoken to a lot of people who known more about history than me before I did, right? But you have the truth and you have nothing to do with it, or you don't have anything to reference it with to then get somebody who doesn't believe what you believe to come across. I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today, actually, and we were getting into like some world stuff, some United States stuff. And the person made a point, and I was like, "Well, what makes you believe that?" It's like, "I know that." How the hell do you know? And got to explain the process, and I'm like, "Well, that doesn't equate knowing to belief that could be right." I'm not getting into the content of your argument, the substance of it. No, I'm just saying on the surface, I reject that because you say you know. If I've learned anything on this journey of gathering more information, is that I don't know that much. I'm comfortable in saying I know more than a lot. I'm comfortable in saying that I'm constantly analyzing and I'm constantly learning. But I also know that I don't know anything. Excuse me, I don't know much. I know some things. And I look at it like this: go to a party, a fight breaks out. Everybody there is likely going to tell a different version of the story for whatever reason. So if that can happen in our day-to-day life, why can't we apply that same thing to anything, to history? And a lot of these non-classically educated, formally educated internet intellectuals don't know how to frame an argument. Like, hey, what data set are we using? What time period are we using? Okay, now let's narrow that down. Now, what assumptions are we going into this conversation with? I know this may sound boring and scientific, but it's the fucking truth, man. Like, okay, now that we've level set, now we can spar back and forth or converse back and forth to get to an answer. But a lot of these non-formally trained internet intellectuals haven't done real research, haven't had to pull conclusions from a data set and then like shrink that data set and speak to those conclusions based off of the shrunken data set as opposed to a more broad data set, right? Because when you have a more broad data set, you can come to more conclusions. There's more opportunities for variance. There's more opportunities for outliers, or a smaller data set, right? Your outliers affected more, where in a larger data set, they affected less. It's just you know, you just if someone's never done it and they don't know how to do it, it then makes it hard to have a conversation. And then again, if we can't communicate effectively, then what are we doing? It's a waste of time because we're going to talk past each other instead of talking to each other. I hate poly markets. I think it's nasty and predatory and it's like, oh well, it's just people. The lines are set by the people based on where the money goes. So it's Vegas. Yeah, the bookmaker set the line, but the cash affects the movement of the line. Yeah, this is no different. But now it's in your phone, and there's promotions, and there's the flashing lights, lights, lights. There's the threat of addiction. There's all of these different triggers, and I shouldn't say triggers. There are a lot of different stimuli, and gambling and throwing money into these markets. I mean, like this Kalshi shit is bullshit. It should be illegal. Like, why? How can I wager on world events? Because if I can wager on world events, that means the people who are in charge of said world events could wager on those world events. Sounds like another way to extract money from the working class and give it to the elite. You know, I really look at a lot of things so differently now when I learned to follow the money. And you look at who owns things, you look at who makes rules, who they're close to, what their rules or laws, who they benefit as they shift. Look at wars. You can look at all of these different things and see, okay, what's actually going on here? Like I saw somewhere where one state wants to help arm the IDF, or no, I take that back. Wants to give Americans who fight in the IDF American military benefits. No, nigga. You're not fighting. You're an American citizen fighting another military. I think that's bad enough. And I know, I mean, because I know when shit, we don't give United States, we don't give people security clearances if they are dual citizens. And just from a military point of view, I wouldn't trust a dual citizen. Yeah, they may mean well. I just no, because at the end of the day, your interests are in the interests of our country, and if you are fighting if you're in the military, your interests need to be aligned with the country's larger national interests, international interests, which is why I got out of the military. One of many reasons, but the main reason was I ain't aligned with this shit. I don't want to be part of the war machine anymore, so I'm not. At first, I didn't think it was a war machine. Then I said, "Oh, it's a war machine." Gained more information, came to new conclusions, changed my life. Some could say I messed up, especially given how I'm living right now, but I'm okay with it. And that's the beauty of life. Just be okay with what you do. Man, I'm all over the place right. Another thing, what's the point of living a life of luxury, or even striving to live a life of luxury? You know, I saw something that or heard something actually from Dr. Cheyenne Bryant that said families are real wealth. Now, mind you, she pushes that on the internet, but nothing about her real life says that family's wealth, and she's more interested in money being her wealth. But family's wealth. So I think we should look to reprioritize our lives because, yes, having money is nice, and yes, it is a means to an end. But what's your end? If money is the end, how much is enough? When do you know you have enough money? What's the difference in a luxury t-shirt and a non-luxury t-shirt? I'm not saying don't buy luxury things. I buy name brand things. I don't buy just all generic stuff. No. A lot of that is because I was caught in the whirlwind of consumerism and thought that's what yeah, status symbol. But is it really? Why are you projecting your like your status is your status? And yes, symbols help people identify your status, but symbols also can confuse people about your status. Because what are your priorities? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I think traveling's great, but I don't think going into debt to travel is smart. I think going to other places and learning about other things is important. But how much money are you investing in your own community? You go over here, you go shopping, you stay in a hotel, you boost up their economy. But what are you doing to help local vendors in your economy? You can go give the global entities your money. You can get your Balenciaga boots. You can get your Louis V luggage. You can get all of that stuff. But does it actually change how you change how you transport your stuff? You know, like is it an actual status symbol that matters? Because I imagine if you fly into the wrong place with the right luggage, you might not get it because you're like identifying, you're projecting your status to people who have less status than you and want your status, so they're going to try to take from you. There's a time and place for everything. And luxury luggage is probably for flying private, but who can afford to do that? And I promise you, I'm not against luxury. I just don't understand why a life of luxury is like a goal before a life of stability. And I see it so much from unstable communities. Like, I want all this luxurious stuff. Why? But for other people, what does it do for you on the inside? If it does something for you on the inside, have at it. If it's a reflection of where you came from and where you are today, go for it. But nigga, if you just want the chain, the car, the crib just to say you have it, you want the money just to say you have it, or just to get the women or get the girl, well, now that's what you are. You're the money. And we're more than money. And the sooner we learn that we're more than money, and everything's not about money. Money just, again, we have to exchange something for something. Nothing's free. Everything takes time. And because we live in a world that's tied to damn near everything costing something, well, you got to pay something. But I promise you, we got to get out of this mindset of money, money, money. I want more, more, more. Hey, the quickest way to increase profit is to cut costs. So if you want more money, have less, buy less, spend less, do less. Do what you need to do. I'm not telling you to be 100% minimalist, but understanding that the best way, like cost savings, is cut costs. You know what I mean? Why you think they do layoffs when companies are losing revenue? It's like, oh, we're losing revenue, our profit margins are shrinking. Cut some costs. Get this labor up out of here. Sure, we could like invest more money into marketing, invest more money into R&D to try to create a superior product, raise prices. All of those things help, but it's cutting costs. So if your goal is to be rich, yeah, you got to make more money, but you also got to spend less. And I challenge you, don't want to be rich, want to be free. Because a lot of people are rich, but they're not free. I was having a conversation with a friend earlier this week. We're talking about NBA players and stuff. And I'm like, man, they barely even own their money. They got to hire agents to negotiate contracts that are damn near already set. How old are you? What's the market? What are your statistics? What's your character record? Like, you know what I mean? Pretty much set in stone. I don't need an agent to go negotiate that for me. I'm popular or I'm not. Either companies want me to do an endorsement deal or they don't. But the second a player pulls a Jaden Ivey, it's like, oh, he's probably, yeah, but he has a specific set of skills that he spent the majority of his life doing. That's not the most easily transferable skills. Also, what he done was projected on a national, international spotlight. Why? Because he plays in the NBA. And why? Because media companies and blogs can make money off of talking about it or posting about it. Yeah, all of that stuff goes into it. But now he's pretty much done, and his earning potential is hurt. Now he may be able to go back into the lab and find ways to invest his money, keep his money going, maintain his lifestyle. But this guy, he publicly stood up for his religion, and now he doesn't have a job. Well, the First Amendment doesn't protect you against employment, just incarceration. Well, shit. What's the difference in being poor as hell and tied to the government or locked up? Not saying that's Jaden Ivey's case, but just in general. Like, employment is so much tied to our freedom and our ability to live in this country today, as opposed to back in 1776 when this good country started, 1783 when 1789 when the Constitution was ratified. Life was different. Majority of the company was on farms. You didn't need as much education, so you were able to function. Yeah, it's going to jail is the worst thing because you can still get a job. You can still support yourself. But it's different today with this cancel culture, with people getting fired and and doxxed and all. Bro, what are we doing? Allow people to be free. Let's work together. Let's not work for each other. Yes, we need a hierarchy. Yeah. You just can't make every community decision, but damn, does every negotiation have to be a fucking win-lose? Like Pablo Torre had Damari Smith on his show today talking about the jankiness of the NFL and the NFL Players Association and how they said, hey, these guaranteed contracts, how J.C. Treader stepped down, but then got to come back because he was elected. It's like, huh? This guy was part of the nonsense, but he get to come back. You know, he was part of the group that buried the lawsuit, and then now he gets to preside over the. Oh, that's janky. Oh, and back in the old CBA negotiations before the lockout, the owners had planned to get $4 billion to cover their costs for the year in case there was a lockout, so they could come back and negotiate the 18th game. Bro, you're a billionaire. What more do you want? Is it more money, more power? Or do you just get off to oppressing people? I'm not talking about racism, oppression. I'm not just saying people bending to your will, you controlling them. We got to let people be free. And in saying that, normal isn't normal. There's no such thing as normal. Like, we try to say, oh, that's normal. Oh, you're ADHD, or oh, you have this. Or maybe we're all just on a spectrum and we're not the same because we're genetically different and we have different experiences, we have different upbringing, and we respond to stimulus different. It's a lot that goes into the makeup of a person's character and their decision-making process. And I just don't think there's anything, no such thing as normal. And I'm going to close this out, talking more about the media complicating things. Golly. White House Correspondents' Dinner. Shots fired, president safe, no injuries from what I read. I don't care about the shooter's name. It's insignificant to the conversation because I'm not getting into that because I have my thoughts. But shortly after the shooting occurs, we have a bunch of media members, some say were paid by the MAGAverse, to tweet about the fucking ballroom. This is why we need a ball. Who gives a fuck about a ballroom? I get, yes, the White House should have a ballroom. But this is what we're talking about when there was an alleged attempt on a president's wife? But also, there's so much mistrust for the media. Do we believe that this actually happened? There's so much distrust for institutions. Do we believe that this was real or was it staged? Was it a distraction from what's going on in Iran and the rest of the Middle East? Was it or was it a ploy to be like, hey, I want this damn ballroom built, and here's something we can set up to get it built. I watched House of Cards. It messed my brain up, man. I don't trust much. And unfortunately, the system has let so many people down in so many different ways that it's hard to trust our government. It's hard to trust our media. Why? Because the government is manipulated and the media is owned and manipulated by our billionaire elite class, and then supported by the millionaire class. And then the 100,000-aire class thinks they're close enough, so they fall in line. And then so on and so forth. And hey, you can try to climb that ladder, but the statistics say it's getting harder and harder. The richest people in the world, the top 1%, I think I read somewhere, controls like 50% of the world's wealth. Like, that's insane. How does so small group of people have so much wealth? And we say, hey, We got to keep this up because when I get my shot, I'm going to exploit whoever the hell I can to get mine. I know two wallets usually carry more money than one. Usually, two people can do more work than one person. That's why we hire crews to do stuff. That's why people hire a staff to support them. That's why you have business partners and you have ownership groups, a community of people working together towards a common goal. Well, if we as people, the proletariat, Americans, black folks, white folks, I don't care who you are, if you stop trying to bite off the head of your neighbor and start working with your neighbor, you'll have a better neighborhood. You'll have a bigger neighborhood. And then you can grow a community of people with common lifestyles, things in common. Wow, that was terrible. Common lifestyles, things in common. You're better than that, Adam. But you can have people with common beliefs, lifestyles, living close together, spreading out because your neighbor talks to their neighbor and their other neighbor, and then they, you know what I mean? And then y'all become a cul-de-sac group and y'all hang out, and then the people outside the cul-de-sac see y'all outside barbecuing, and they say, "Hey man, we got some beers and some brats. Can we come join?" And then they show up, right? And then because we're sharing with each other, we're not just trying to get over on each other. And if we started to share more as people, I'm not saying just give up everything you have, but if we just started to share more, we have a better society. If we started to trust more, we'd have a better society. And if we weren't so distracted by the money making industries that only want to make money and don't give a damn about us, they just need bodies to consume, dollar pockets to take from so they can pursue their own ventures. Once we learn that's what it is, and most of us who have these independent goals of wealth and riches, once we learn we can't, we're better off not doing it by ourselves. We're better off doing it together and building a collective community. We'll be in a better place. But until then, keep getting distracted and confused by the media. And I'm going to keep sitting here trying to unconfuse you. I'm not right. I don't know everything. I'm just providing another perspective. Those are my afterthoughts.